All right, just because I'm scanning in documents, so I can save them. So my original documents, sorry, my original documents I'm scanning in and then saving the originals. I thought I might as well do, a video based on it. So the cover letter from my doctor, where it says Mr. Justin. He put my middle name down as Marcus, but that's okay because Marcus is also on my birth certificate. But it's Mark. It's Justin Mark Fleming, but that's okay. Justin Mark Fleming, my date of birth, my address. I shouldn't show my address, but anyway, what I'm trying to show. Oh, look. The above has attended our clinic since 2008. On examination, where's my glasses? I'm not going to use my glasses. Since 2008. On examination over this period of time, period, there are no signs of illicit drug use. Please see long-term regular drug urine checks from 2015 up to the present. They do not show any evidence of illicit drug use. All right. So that squashes all the lies about me since 2015. And look, yeah, sure, I admitted, yeah, fine. I was deliberately, after I was lied about in 2015, I deliberately set out to prove that there was confidentiality, privacy, and prying issues. Number one, I was slandered. I was lied about. So first of all, it was to prove this, and it was to prove that what was happening towards me was a deliberate privacy invasion from certain people, groups, and organizations. And these are low-life people that actually should be getting arrested. These are actual criminals of people who cause this trouble. So a group of criminal people, they don't believe they're criminals because they believe what they do in their life is justified. They're allowed to be cannabis smokers and alcoholics and cocaine users and ice users and so forth, and dealers and things. That they believe in their unicorn world that's okay. And I've got the belief that that's a criminal offence you should be locked in jail for. And if Anthony Albanese wasn't our Prime Minister, you would be in jail for it. So, let's say we've got a conflict of opinions. My opinion is that we live in a normal world, in a normal society where those laws where you can't harass me, which is what you're doing, my response to your harassment is a justified response. And your unicorn world that you live in, you believe that it's okay for you to just smoke cannabis on a daily basis, use illicit drugs and so forth. So it started out with some people that had a vendetta against me, attacked my life. Then there was privacy issues and there was prying issues, and then God, I was like, I'll tell you this, I will put my own family members in jail. And I will. So there's the letter from the doctor. So yeah, I did play a prank. Very upfront about it. From 2016 to 2018, of course I did. I wanted to prove that my privacy was deliberately invaded so I could bring a court case. And then you've got so many. So these reports, there is so many, and they all show negative. So many reports. So I'll do this first because then I want to get to other things as well, where I've been like, oh God, there's so many reports. And these aren't just for one date. These are continuous dates over several years where they have, taken, but there's so much proof that I'm not a drug user. Never have been. So there's an organisation that already owes me money for damages for that. So there's one to date. Okay. So never have been, never known of it. Number two, where I was lied about. So my mother went to organisations and was making up stories. So these organisations should never have listened to my mother. Some being the Reach Out organisation, Matt O'Rourke. Some being Danielle Curran from Acorn. Others being Bobby Goldsmith. Some being my practitioners and so forth. And she made a statement and said, he grew up in Tamworth. So people now believed that we're from Tamworth and I actually grew up there, when that's not the case, because my mother never heard of Tamworth before 1989. She moved there with her second husband. I didn't grow up there. I was actually barely lived there. I barely spent any time there at all. So, of course, I had no choice but to go in April 1989 with my mother and her second husband, because no one else fought for me to stay back home in Sydney where I wanted to. So, of course, I did. The laws were wrong. So, of course, April 1989, I went to Tamworth. I've not disputed this. But I was only going to school there, and then every weekend I wasn't with my mother, I wasn't with her sisters. I was back home in Sydney. If my mother wasn't going to be in Sydney, I was always finding a way to get back home in Sydney. God, oh fucking mighty, I'm sick of repeating myself. There were so many times where I was at my grandparents' place by myself with just my grandparents. I didn't want to leave. And the whole threat my mum used to do, she goes, if you don't turn up for school, they'll arrest you. So this was the threat that my mother used to hold over me. It's for me to have to be under her control for a period of during the week of those 5 days, basically, because I didn't want to be with her. I didn't want to be anything to do with her. I wasn't going to entertain the fact that my mother ran away from Sydney. My family is from this city. Originally, my family, my grandparents, my family heritage, my family history is long-term City of Sydney people. Okay, my grandparents moved to the suburbs. That's right, in 1962, but they're from the inner city. Their families remained in the inner city, and I was closest to my grandparents growing up, and I was always spending time with them. I was always spending time in the city. All of this information is true, which is why, even when I was a kid growing up in the suburbs of Sydney, not in Tamworth, grew up in the suburbs of Sydney, even my grandparents were like, oh, Justin's going to move to the city when he gets old. I'm like, yeah, that's what suits me. They used to say you can see it. Big Nan and Uncle Fred said, oh, you can move in here. And then, Big Nan passed away, and then Uncle Fred, got sick, and the house was sold in 1999 in Leichhardt. And I was like, oh, I was going to move in there with Uncle Fred. And that's true. So all this is true. So I did not spend time leisurely in Tamworth at all. Any weekend that was free from sport was back home in Sydney. Every single holiday except for October was back home in Sydney. I was only in Tamworth from April 1989 until 1995. That's the fact. That's the fact. Now, anyone will tell you that is only 6 years and his leisure time was spent back home in Sydney. There's proof of this without listening to his mother and his auntie's lies. Let's just stick to facts for a minute. They're lying. We know what those three women are like. So can we put that aside and say his mother's a compulsive liar, her sister's a compulsive liar. They are toxic, control freak, narcissistic women that he's never wanted anything to do with. They're trying to push their own narrative and agenda, and that's it. He was there for 6 years. 6 years is not growing up in an area. Let's just legally state this. You're in an area for 6 years. That's a blink on your life. That's a blink in your life. Where were you most of your life then? Well, most of my life I've been in the city. So you've spent most of your life living in the city and you're born and raised in the suburbs of Sydney. That's correct. I am born and raised in the suburbs of Sydney. However, I've lived most of my life in the city. That's the facts. What my mother told these organisations is a complete lie. So what my mother said then contradicts everything to do with our family history. So I had people going, even a Stephanie DeSalis who believes stuff. It's like, you're searching social media, you're a weirdo. So I was saying stuff like, look, when my twin sister and myself were born in Blacktown Hospital, we were transferred to Camperdown Hospital. And my grandfather said, because I said, I know, like, Pop, he's a city guy. Born and raised in Balmain, so is his father Keith, so is his grandfather. And he said, Mum's from, meaning his mum, Lillian Stills from Paddington. She said, but Justin, when you were born, so I've had people from Ingenua asking me questions and saying, oh, how do you know this? Through Ancestry.com. I'm like, no, fucking Ancestry.com, you loser. I know this information because I grew up with my grandparents and my great-grandmother and my great-uncles. Like, you're a weirdo. Obviously people have not grown up with older family members like I have. So I grew up with my grandmother raised me, Lola, and my grandfather, Reginald George Purdy, Lola's husband, Mum's parents. Lola's mother, Mary, was the other influence in my life. Loved Big Nan. She was alive right up until I was I was in my late teens. Then Uncle Fred passed, I think it was 2001? Would it have been? 2001. He would have passed. It was after the Olympics. And that was in the nursing home. He moved from Piper Street, 43 Piper Street, Leichhardt. He's originally from Bellevue Hill, Uncle Fred. So my great uncle's from Bellevue Hill. That's true. So is other family members. They're from here. They're from this area. They're from that area. They've moved here. They've moved there. Every statement I said's the truth. Now, I grew up with those family members. So forget about where I went to school. My great uncle Fred's from, is it 33 Edgecliff Road, Bellevue Hill or Wallara? And I've had people go, how do you know this? I'm like, what do you mean how do I know this? Uncle Fred told me. Man, Lola told me. We used to go and see Uncle Fred, Tuesdays, or every Tuesday I used to see my Uncle Fred go pick Nan up and then take her into John Street Nursing Home to see Uncle Fred every single Tuesday once he went into that nursing home. So he had, company all the time. Felt sorry for him. And I used to see him a lot growing up when he was still living in 43 Piper Street, Leichhardt. My twin sister doesn't know this because my twin sister was kept in a bubble. I'm not close to my twin sister. We have had completely different upbringings. I would never be close to her. She's like my mother because my mother created and manipulated a minion in my twin sister. So it was my mother and my mother's sister, Marianne, put my twin sister in a bubble and fed her what they wanted her to be. And she has no idea about anything of life or anything to do with her family. So I don't really have much to do with my twin sister because she didn't spend time with my great uncle like I did, or my great grandmother like I did, or my grandmother Lola like I did. She was always with my mother. And it's shown in her later life. And that's where I have no time for her because it shows that she was manipulated and controlled and put into a bubble created for her by Marianne Mihowski, our auntie, my mum's younger sister, and my mother, Carol Purdy. And it shows Amanda is their minion, basically. So everyone's like, so when people go, how do you know this? I'm like, what do you mean, how do I know this? My God, I used to drive Nan. I drove Nan to Aunt Margaret Keegan's sister Tessie's place, which is down near Birkenhead Point. Nan would be like, oh, come on, can you drive me here? When I was younger, before I had my license, I was at Kerry Road in Blacktown, and Pop would be like, oh, come on, Lola, let's get Justin, we'll go and take him to see his Nan. Because here's the fact. I was the closest person to my great-grandmother. Whether people like it or not, Mary, my great-grandmother, I was the closest to, and she moved back to the house that she raised her family in, which was 43 Piper Street, Leichhardt. She moved back there in 1989. So I used to spend every single day before that with my great-grandmother. Every day, and she was in Kerry Road then, in the spare room at Nan and Pop's house. And then she moved back and lived with her brother. She lived her life out there. And I love and adore my great-grandmother. God, I can't believe how my mother and my mother's sisters are. It's just horrible. I can remembering her life afterwards, after she moved. It was just, yeah. So, and Nan was beautiful. And I used to always be there with my great-grandmother. So I used to always be in Leichhardt. And other family members would make statements. I'm like, you weren't there. Nan and Pop drove me. You weren't there. It was myself, Reg, and Lola. You weren't there. Like in other times, Mum, like, yes, yeah, I took you there. I'm like, yes, you've taken me there on other times, Mum, when we've all socialised. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about when I used to take, be there with just Nan and Pop. You weren't there. Your sisters were never there. My cousins were never there. Amanda never had the time. Like, she was so, God knows, maybe like Mum, too busy with the fucking horses. So anyway, let's get back to Pop's mum. So Lillian still. Lillian, so my mum's grandmother on her father's side. So her son, my grandfather Reg, always said, look, when you and Amanda were born and transferred to Camperdown, his mum, Lillian, was still living in Newtown then. She used to go drinking down the pub with the doctors that looked after you at the children's hospital. Anyway, so basically she used to live in a terraced house. And then I think she lived her life out when she was old in one of these horrible, horrible flats, whatever. Like she just got old and died. She wasn't close to the family. I don't know. Like, yeah, apparently she wasn't a nice person. You know, so my nan used to always tell me that. She says she was a nice person. Like her and she's the nan used to always say it's where your mother gets it from. Her and her daughter Lynette. So yeah, nan never liked him. Anyway. So basically, like I made this comment, and it's the true facts. It's like, well, Mum's grandmother lived like she was, you know, the last place she was living at in, you know, Newtown or Camperdown, which is near Newtown. Well, that's where she ended up dying in 1983, whatever it was. So that's all true. You know, and the same with the facts that, well, I haven't got a birth. I might check. I might have a birth record. Pop always said her family. So the Steeles are from Paddington. It may be. I know that Pop had family members in Paddington because my grandfather, Reginald George Purdy, he's all from the city. His whole family's from the city. His brother died in King's Cross. So the entire that side of the family, and it was Pop who raised me. Pop was like my father, and his wife, my nana Lola. So Reg and Lola Purdy raised me. Reg is from the city. His whole family is city. Anyway. So I do have, so my nan gave me all the documents years ago, and I've got original. So this is, 73. Oh God, wouldn't it be great if my mother could follow history and die like, you know, because Mum's almost 70. Oh God, wouldn't it be great if she goes like the Purdy side of the family where they all die young on the Purdy side, breathing and heart problems. You know, anyway, widowed. So, okay, Lillian, where is it? Oh, yeah, there it is. Yeah, like I said before, Piedmont Bridge Road. She was living there when she died, but she used to live in a big terraced house. So basically, well, I was told she lived, so when she got too old, she could no longer manage the terraced house she lived in. And even Mum said, so I don't know why Mum's carrying on her bullshit, she said she never used the top floor. So Lillian still didn't use the top floor of the terraced house. She only lived on the first floor because she got too old to climb the stairs. So that's the truth. So it was Mum that even told me that too, but you know, Pop, you know, used to always confirm it. So she lived in a large terraced house, and when she got older, she never used the entire top floor of the terraced house in the city. So it was just locked. Basically, she just lived on the bottom floor of the terraced house. The entire top floor remained, and Mum said she used to climb up to the top floor. So that's Lillian Still. That's my mum's grandmother. Mum's born in Darlinghurst, like I said. And as for the other uncle, so Uncle Fred, who's Leo Patrick Sayer, this is his brother. So Matthew John, which is Uncle Jack or Auntie Jack. Like years ago, back in 2001, 2002, I said to Rodney Sard, when I was helping him move from his brother's house to Stratford, I was like, oh God, I used to spend so much time in Stratford growing up because, oh, you've spent time everywhere. This is what people used to say. Oh, you've lived everywhere. I'm like, my family is everywhere. Yes, suburbs, city, Leichhardt, Glebe, you know, Stratford's where I used to go and see Uncle Jack. So I'm in there and I'm like, oh, because he lived not far from here. Anyway, he died in the nursing home in Stratfield, which was 13 Jersey Road, Stratfield. So Uncle Jack's mother is Julia Ryan, who became a Sayer. Yeah, so Julia Ryan's. So I'm just actually Bridget Ryan. It's Bridget's daughter. So Bridget's the French one, which let me get to that because that's my mother tried to deny that. Have I got it? Hang on. With the family history, I'm so over this. It's like, my God, why didn't you say anything to your father? Because Pop brought this up in the 90s. So the original document of birth, deaths and marriage, that even Pop and Nan and Pop was always like, Justin, she was French. Your grandmother's great-grandmother, where is it, is French. And, okay. Well, that's a little odd because I had it. The original document and maybe I've filed it away. Hang on. So my maybe I filed it away. My nan, so when it comes to family documents, oh, my nan and pop used to give me all of them because I was the only one that ever spent time with them and they knew what their daughters were like. So when it comes to all the family documents and history, I used to be with them going around those places growing up, and they used to share everything with me where their daughters never listened. So my documents, hang on. I hope I filed it away because I actually had it to go to a solicitor recently. Oh yeah, here we go. Alright. So, actually let me file a lot more away. Alright, so Julia Sayer is, excuse me, big name Mary's mother, Uncle Jack's, so Matthew John's mother, and Uncle Fred, which is Leo Patrick Sayer. Now, the French side, and I made this comment years ago, and then suddenly, so it was like, oh, he thinks he's French. I'm like, I never said this. I said, I've got French heritage if you want to go back enough, because it's true. And I've always said, it's like, oh, well, mum's side's got French. My grandmother's great-grandmother is French. Now, that was never disputed. Never disputed ever until recently. So it was never disputed while Reginald George Purdy, my grandfather, was alive. It was never disputed while Lola May Purdy, my grandmother, was alive. It's Lola May Purdy's, or her maiden name's Keegan, it's her great-grandmother who was French. And here's where the timeline goes. And sorry, it was never disputed when even Mary, so it's Mary's grandmother. So my great-grandmother's grandmother, who was French. And it's always been said. It's been like, Nan used to say, why do you think my name's Lola? My name's Lola. It wasn't really a common name. It's because of Bridget. Bridget Dufresne was French. So let me tell you quickly, because I'm really over this shit. Really over it. It's like, oh, they make mums, now they're trying to backtrack and go, oh, those mistakes, you know, no, she told you this, or oh, mum's telling you stories. I'm like, stop your fucking lying. Nan's great-grandmother was French. There was no disputing this ever before your little narcissistic scam in the last 9 years. There was no disputing it ever. So Julia is Bridget's daughter, which is my nan's grandmother. All right. Bridget Dufresne. I've got my glasses on, the sea is clear enough. Bridget Dufresne, there you go. Married Matthew Joseph Ryan. That's why Julia's name was Ryan. So Julia Sayer, Julia Sayer is a married name. Julia Ryan. So Julia's mother is Bridget Dufresne, French. Her father is Matthew Ryan, Irish. So Matthew Joseph Ryan, Bridget Dufresne had Julia. Julia was actually Julia Bridget Ryan. They had May. They had Annie. Okay. Julia married a Sayer, which is why there's Sayer. So it's English. So I've always said this. It's like, okay, but it is still French. Like you can't sit back and deny and say, oh, it's Irish. It's like you can't just take one nationality and deny the rest. You know, because it's not. There is more English than anything. There's French, there's English, and there's Irish, just on Nan's side. So there's French, there's English, and there's Irish, just on Nan's side of the family alone. So you can't just sit back and just take what you want. It's like Bridget Dufresne was French, and Nan was really pleased about her great-grandmother being French. You know, you used to tell me all these stories about her great-grandmother. So what I've said about Bridget Dufresne is true. Her last name is D-E space F-R-A-I-N, Bridget Dufresne. All right. So getting back to it. So she died in 43 Piper Street, Leichhardt. That's the house that I've, you know, very close to. That's my nan's house. I call 43 Piper Street, Leichhardt my nan's house because it is. Even though it was owned by Uncle Fred, it's beside the point. I shall keep this out because I'm going to scan them in as well while I'm doing this scanning and save the copies. Lillian, I've got all of them. I'm not going to go through all the documents that are sitting here in the folder. So I've got originals as well as copies or family documents. So Nan gave me, do I need to copy that again? I've got that. So years ago when Nan was, you know, before Nan got sick and whatever, a whole stack of documents of family records my nan Lola gave me. Like, they know what my mother and they know what their daughters are like. Reg and Lola knew what their daughters are like and how they treated me over the years. So, Nan gave me a stack of documents years ago. This is going back, like documents that she's had since, all the documents basically. Anyway, the ones with Bridget they had there, I think Pop had that since the 90s. I remember sitting with Pop talking about it. Because Pop used to say about his family, he thought that was French in that side as well. But it's English. I don't know them. They might have been French back past for the English side, who knows? But it's definitely, like Pop's family, the Purdy side are definitely from England. The P-U-R-D-Y, they're from England. There's no disputing that. Because it was his grandfather's father who came over from England. So yeah, Pop's father's Keith, Pop's grandfather, and then it was Pop's great grandfather came over from England and lives in Balmain. He actually came over from England to Balmain, and so it was his great grandfather had his grandfather. So his grandfather's born and raised in Balmain. His father Keith's born and raised in Balmain. Reginald George Purdy's born and raised in Balmain. So there's the facts there with that. So I've now got organisations that have denied me the truth over a series of years and have labelled me as a character person I'm not. And I'm like, but I'm telling you the truth. The information I've given you, even if I was over the top being a smart ass when I said it, like saying jokes that my nan used to say about her great grandmother going, oh, she came over in the early 1800s or something from France, and like nan used to joke about it, whatever. And she's French. Like they'll put the jokes aside. Nan's great grandmother's French. That's it. Like there's nothing else to say except Nan's great grandmother is French. Her great grandfather is Irish, and then her grandmother, who's French and Irish, married an Englishman. So then Nan's mother is technically, French, Irish, and English. So, that's, yeah. And then Nan was born, and then, Nan's father is Irish. And then, Nan was born and she married a guy who's got English descendants. So you've got French, English, and Irish. Like, it's not that hard to look at one side of my family and say, well, there's French, English, and Irish on that side. There's not that hard to say that. Then on my dad's side is completely different again. But this has all been twisted into something else. Not. It's like, why is this like, I don't need the DNA. I don't need some ancestry bullshit. I grew up with my great-grandmother and my great-uncles and my grandmother and my grandfather. I know from word of mouth and being with them where our family heritage and history is. And, I'm the one that's also gone to every funeral, every wedding, every event. And I've socialised with these family members, and I've got their birth, deaths and marriage documents, which my grandparents gave me growing up because they never trusted their daughters with them. And that's the truth. They never trusted their daughters to tell the truth. So it's no big deal that my nan Lola, her great-grandmother's French, but it was made a big deal in the last 9 years. It's like, why is it a big deal? My nan's great-grandmother is French. It's just a fact. Bridget Dufresne was French. My nan's great-grandfather was Irish. Then my nan's grandmother, Julia, who's French and Irish, married an Englishman. Okay, which makes my nan's mother, Mary, French, Irish, and English. Why is this so hard for you to understand a nationality which all coincides with where they've come from, where their birth, deaths, and marriages? It's all facts. And my mother's sitting back going, no, this has all been made. Mum made it up. Oh, Mum's telling Justin stories. It's like, that's just fucking not. You're lying again, Carol. You're always a liar. You and your sisters are always liars. After growing up with them, like I've often said, I don't ever believe women. I don't. If I've ever been dealing with women, I look at them and I'm like, well, I've stood there and watched my mother lie in a sentence and start crying and be lying again. And people go, oh, and I'm there going, she's lying. That never happened. Like literally looking at her going, she's lying. Like same with her sisters. I know them. And so I often have this comment where I believe the Quran. Oh, and don't twist that. So the Quran actually states, is it 2.5 something in the Quran, that a female's testimony is worth half of a male because women lie. And it's true. It's like, and it's a good belief to have. It's like, that's true. Because I've never known a female that can say a full sentence without lying. Men are truthful, women are liars. And it's a fact, it's right back through the Bible. Women are liars and have always been liars. So maybe if we go back to biblical preachings and remember that women lie and can't tell the truth. It's just something that's embedded in them. We believe their lies, but that doesn't mean that their lies are the truth. So my mother is a liar, okay? So is her sisters, their behaviour. Now don't twist this because it's something else. So I'm a Roman Catholic. I'm not Islam, but I've got a really good understanding of Islam from religious studies growing up. And it's been confused where people have thought things about me and so forth. And I'm just going to squash this right now. People who don't know me, my dad's side, the Fleming side, are big supporters of Islam. They are. My cousin Jessica Pincham was about to marry, or she was going to Haysam, who's Islamic. They have, over the years in the past, made statements towards me where they felt that I wasn't supportive of Islam and Muslims enough. Now, my own cousins on my father's side had arguments with me. So the Fleming side of my family, okay. My dad's, so, and here's a fact, my dad's older sister, so my dad's side, they look ethnic. So if you start looking where, I've had people look at photos and they're like, how can that be your grandfather? He looks Italian or he looks more Lebanese. And I'm like, that's my dad's father. Whether you like it or not, these are my blood relatives. Aunt Sandra had frizzy black hair and a hook nose. She looks Greek. Aunt Linda looks Lebanese. And she does. My they've all got the skin. They're not that sort of, they have the ethnic look that comes from Stanley, my grandfather. On dad's side, Stanley, we used to sit back and say, because he's an orphan. My grandfather, Stanley Fleming's an orphan. And we used to sit back and say, yeah, could have been Italian, Greek, Maltese, Lebanese, who knows? You know, he really does. And that's what I look like him, similar. My colouring, my skin colouring, Pop was a lot darker skinned than me, but the fact that I go dark like Pop, the blackness, and so forth. So people keep listening to my mother's side of the family. Stop listening to my mother's side of the family, you insane weirdos. So listen to me when I talk about my dad's father. So my dad's older sister, Sandra, her son, who looks like Shane when he was young, he looks like a short Greek woggy guy. So not Shane on mum's side, there's two Shanes, Shane on dad's side. Shane, which is Aunt Sandra Fleming's son, who married Aunt Sandra, she married a Johnson. Well, I can't stand the Johnsons, the Lowrys. But, so, you know, that's why there's Johnson there. But you look at him and it's like, the other issues is like, oh, he doesn't look like a Shane Johnson, he looks like a Luigi. I'm like, exactly. They don't match, the looks of my family members don't match their names because they look like they should be having ethnic names because of the descent, because of the way we look, because of what's trickled down from dad's father. Dad's father was an orphan. So Shane, dad's Mark Fleming, his older sister Sandra Fleming, married Barry Johnson. They had, 4 kids. One's dead. Their son Shane Johnson was a butcher. So they're from Parramatta, but lived now, most of life on the Central Coast. And he even did halal. So he knows how to, I had a discussion with him years ago where he was supportive of halal. And that's my cousin. So I've said this before, I'm like, and we're different religions. So I'm a Roman Catholic. My dad's side are not Roman Catholic. I really don't know what religion my dad's side is, to be honest, if you asked. I have no idea. But they're not Roman Catholic. I'm a Roman Catholic. My dad's side's not. But they're very supportive of Islam. And I remember having so I've had so many discussions over the years, even more, prior to 2015, even where I've had family members on my dad's side think I was negative towards Islam and it's because I'm Roman Catholic. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm like, I am Roman Catholic. I'm not going to convert to Islam. I am born and raised Roman Catholic. My family is all Roman Catholic on that one side of my family, whether it's my nan Lola, my grandfather Reg, my grandmother Mary, her mother Julia, her mother Bridget, they're all Roman Catholics. So I'm a Roman Catholic, whether you like it or not, that's who I am as a religion. But I have a really good understanding of Islam and I respect Islam and I, know a lot about Islam. And I even do habits that are Islamic without even realizing. I've had this inbred in me from years as a kid where even when it comes to washing my hands 3 times before I eat, and washing my face 3 times, Bismillah. Bismillah, Allah, peace be upon him. And this is stuff when, if you study religion and religious studies like I have, you pick up. This is stuff that I've learned as a child, being around ethnic areas and so forth. And I'll go and I wash my hands 3 times without even thinking. It's not even, I have to think about it. It's like, no. It's washing. It's the whole, cleansing and so forth. And I keep my body very pure. My dad's side barely drink alcohol. So my father's side, the Fleming side, are not drug users. They keep their bodies as pure possible. If I've never known it to be alcohol drinkers, drug users, or anything like this. And so, this is, and what they do is what they do anyway. I don't care. I mean, even if they were, who cares? Because that's their life, that's not mine. And this is the simple fact, even with immigration, when I was going through this whole immigration crap, it's like, look, the simple fact is that I'm the person going for immigration, so what you need to know is about me and not that person, this person, or this person. What my mother does with her life has nothing to do with me. She had a complete lifestyle change when she got with her second husband. So she's not who she was when I grew up with her. That's nothing to do with me. That's her and her lifestyle. What my dad does, born and raised in Parramatta, lives in Empire Bay. It was different during the 80s growing up. He was a very stylish guy, whatever. Now he's an old man, retired builder. What he does, that's his life. Why was this ridiculous crap going on? So it is, and has gone on for 9 years. But as I've said, if you look through all the documents, it's like, but I am saying the truth and you're denying me the truth, which is gaslighting. As Martha Mitchell was right, so am I. Martha Mitchell was right, which is where the Martha Mitchell effect comes in. Has anyone ever studied the Martha Mitchell effect? Where government departments and organisations, including some mental health organisations, labelled her as psychotic and other things, and because she made statements that were true, but through one person slandering her, it was a snowball effect where, it wasn't after she died was her name cleared. So it's become the Martha Mitchell effect of how this can actually happen. So yeah, it can happen. So look, doesn't matter how many times I've actually gone and said, but here's the documents. Stop gaslighting me. Just because my mother comes to you and says, he's done this, he's grown up here. It's like, I'm telling you where I grew up. I've given you detailed statements of where I lived at this address, from what time to what period, where I moved to this address from what time to what period, where I lived here from this address to what time to what period, who was I around at this period of time. I'm very good with putting down a timeline of events through my entire life. Relationships. I don't know relationships I had, because my mother has no idea. They make up these numbers where my mother would say, you're with this person for years. And I'm like, impossible, because I was with that person for less than a year, considering I met this person at this person's birthday. Our first date was that person themselves' birthday in August 2003, and I left this person the week of my 25th birthday in April 2004. So I've known this person from August 2003 to April 2004. That is less than a year. How do I know this person longer than that? It's outside the timeline, Carol. And that's the thing. So I'm really good at always putting down foundations, and I always have been, of giving a good structure of what went on in this event. When did this happen? So forth, especially when it comes to my life. And another thing, I don't drink alcohol, I don't use drugs. And my mother and her sisters are drunks. Like, my mother and her sisters drink alcohol on a daily basis. And I never. And they're women that really, women's tolerance to alcohol is less than men. And I've never known a male to drink as much alcohol as my mother and her sisters. And literally, I look at them and it's like, how do you have brain cells? You don't have any memory. And so I look at them, it's like, oh, look, I want to listen to my mother. She wouldn't know what she did last week, let alone what happened, you know, X amount of years ago. And her sisters are the same. They can only know what happened in the moment right now because they have no memory. Once they're drunk and they go to sleep, they wake up, they have no idea what happened. You know, they have no idea. Their statements are meaningless. They have no idea because they're such drunken women. Those three women, they will, and so anything that they say, it's like, would you dream about that, Marianne? Were you drunk? Were you, because you've missed out a timeline here. Where's your brain cells? And they don't. I've grown up with watching these women drink so much. And I'm like, I've never seen a male in my life drink that much. I'm sure if a man drunk as much as you women do, they would be dead. And that's my mother, Carol Ann Purdy. Her sister, well, they're all Purdys, but they've married. So her sister's Robin Lee Purdy, and her younger sister, Marianne Purdy. Of course, Marianne Purdy's married to Mihowski, so she's Marianne Mihowski, and Robin Child's first husband was Reg Childs, so she's Robin Childs. I'll call Robin sis. I'm not close to those three women, but they are drunks, and their daughter, so Robin Child's daughter, Christy Childs, would down bottles of scotches and you name it in one night. Where I'm like, you take the cap off, undo the lid, and I'm drunk. Basically, I have 15 meals of alcohol and I'm completely drunk. So I don't ever really drink, barely drink in my life, so forth. So, a glass of wine here and there or whatever, but years would go by and would never have anything. And it's not because of any reason. Like, I've had people think, oh, he doesn't drink. Did you have a problem with drinking? I was like, no, I never drunk. I like to go out and have a steak and a glass of red wine. But that's if I'm feeling like it. It's not a need where I watch people that have a need for things. And this is why I don't like the vapors. I won't socialize with people who vape. Because I see if you have to vape, then you have an addiction to, what's in the vape, which is nicotine. So I can sit down and have a beautiful cigarette, a beautiful cigar, and expensive tobacco, but I'll have the one. I don't have any addictions. So people that have addiction problems, even if we're sober, we had addiction problems. I'm like, I would never socialize with you, which is why I'm very anti with the people in my street. It's like, why do I have to live around you? I've never had issues with addiction. Don't have the nature. My dad's side's the same. I like my cousin Joe and Hillier. We'll go, oh, let's have a naughty cigarette. Oh, let's get something expensive that tastes nice. So, something different. And why not? Because there's people like me in the world. There's people like my cousins in the world that don't have addiction problems. So why not? Why can't we go to a beautiful cigar lounge and try a beautiful tobacco or a beautiful cigar? There's people like myself and my dad's side of the family that are just nice people that want to sit down and have their whole romantic tie on a cigarette and an aperitif. Why not? That's okay because we're not the problem. These people, like the people in my street, are the problem. These other people are the problem, and they then want to project that everybody is the Belinda Jeffries of the world are the problem, and then they want to project that everybody is like them and has their problem, and they're not. So this is not fair for the rest of the world. Why is people like myself? Why are we punished because of people that have problems? Why are we punished because of the Belinda Jeffries of the world, the Stephanie DeSalises of the world, the Mark Hannahs of the world, the Brett Aikenheads, the Peter Frys, the Christy Childs, the people in the street where I live? Why is normal people like myself and my cousins on my dad's side punished? Because these people have issues. Those people who have issues, don't let them in society. Put them all in one area together. And then let's the rest of the world enjoy what we have on offer. I might want to catch up with my cousin Joan and, let's go get a martini or something and, martini or an aperitif or something and a cognac and have a nice fancy cigar in a cigar lounge. Well, that's beautiful. So let's go and do that as a social thing. We can do that. Those people with drug and alcohol problems can't. Those people who are reformed drug and alcohol users can't do that. So why not keep all of those people together and keep them away from society? Because they should be kept away from society. Why do I have to mix with you? I mean, I have to walk past them in my street, and it makes it to be a very uncomfortable street because I have to walk past going, oh, hi, oh my God, because they stop and, oh, the dog and so forth. And I'm like, oh God, I've got to be so nice and fake and polite to people that I look at, I'm like, oh God, why didn't COVID kill you? Type people. So why should we suffer in the world because people who have issues? Drug and alcohol issues. Like, this is why cigarettes are banned, and this is why cigar lounges were banned, because people have drug and alcohol issues. It's like, but the rest, we don't, and I want to go to a cigar lounge. I want to go to a beautiful cigar lounge like Rex Cigar Lounge in the financial district of New York. I want to go there, and I want to go to a martini lounge and sit down and listen to great music and have an aperitif. Why do we have to be, why is our lives getting destroyed because of these people that have issues, and the left keep giving everything into these people that have issues? Why not just put these people with issues, lock them away somewhere? Like they've got drug and alcohol issues, then put them all in one area, away from everyone else. Well, why do they have to be around other people? And I've been like this, like when you look at my mum's second husband and his family, it's like, well, why do people like that have to be with the rest of normal society? Like, the rest of us can have a drink and we don't have to overdo it. The rest of us can have a nice cigarette or nice flavoured tobacco or things. And why do we have to be hindered because of these people that have drug and alcohol problems? Why do we have to have our lives destroyed because there's losers out there that have to go and vape? And why are you banning cigars that taste like vanilla and so forth because you think it does this, it makes people want to do it? It's like, no, it doesn't. There's people that will pair that cigar with a nice cognac. So why are we all getting hindered because there's people with drug and alcohol issues? And that's why society is. Look, there's a good enough reason why I hate people with drug and alcohol issues, or even people who are reformed. If someone says to me, oh, but I'm a reformed drug and alcohol, I'm like, no, you're still someone with drug and alcohol issues. No, I'm reformed. No, there's no second chances. I'm sorry, whichever unicorn belief you have doesn't work with me. You had drug and alcohol issues, so you still do have drug and alcohol issues. Just because you're not drinking or using drugs doesn't mean you don't have drug and alcohol issues. You still have drug and alcohol issues. And so you are someone with drug and alcohol issues, whether you like it or not. That's who you are as a person. That's who you will always be. Whether you believe in second chances, well, fantastic. I don't have to. That's your belief. Go ahead. I don't have to entertain your belief. You think the world's full of lollipops and unicorns. That's your belief. You probably think that there's thousands of genders out there in the world when there's only two. I don't have to agree with your insanity that you believe you're reformed drug and alcohol, because there's no such thing. You are still a drug and alcohol person that has drug and alcohol issues. There's none of this reformed shit. So you can say whatever you want to me, like this fucking wanker Blake who lives down the road that with his long hair and his camera, and I'm just like, he's like, oh, me and my girlfriend or wife, we're like 2 years sober, and I'm like, and really, he was boasting about it. And I'm just walking off going, and I have to fake these smiles. Oh, hi, Blake. Yeah, fucking loser. And so forth. And I'm looking at that going, oh, he's a drug and alcohol user. Oh, but he hasn't used he's a drug and alcohol user. There's no, oh, he hasn't done this. He is a drug and alcohol user. Now, you can believe whatever you want in your unicorn world. That doesn't mean I have to entertain your beliefs and agree with you. He is. Whether he's reformed or not is beside the point. There is no second chances. There is no reform. He is this person. That's who he is. He is an alcoholic. Just because he's not drinking alcohol doesn't make him not an alcoholic. That is who he is. Deal with it. I'm not going to entertain your bullshit unicorn world that you want somebody like myself, who's more of a right-wing person, to entertain. No, I'm not. And if you're out there vaping, you obviously have a problem with tobacco. So more of what's in the tobacco, tobacco, you've got more of a problem with the nicotine than tobacco. Someone like myself that wants to go and have a beautiful sit down and, oh, I've got something beautiful, say chocolate, it's, chocolate with a peppercorn, even like tobacco from, say, a cigar lounge. I'm going to put that into a rosewood pipe, and the flavor of this, it's like, oh, what could you pair this with? Oh, well, Cabernet Shiraz actually might pair nice with it, type thing. So that's different. I'm a different person to you. I'm not someone with drug and alcohol problem. I'm someone that's enjoying what is out there. It's the same if I go to a chocolatier and so I was doing this point. So, okay, in 2017 when I was getting surveillance, I was pretending to eat a lot of chocolate and want to crave sweets. I'm not a sweet person. So what I was buying chocolate, and I'm trying to drink a lot of Coke and so forth. I was filling my Coke bottle up, tipping Coke out, putting water in it, scalding it on the balcony because I knew I was getting surveillance. And then eating chocolate and so, I need chocolate, I need this. Oh, God. So then I was spitting it out in the bin. So I was doing this as a deliberate thing. That was all fake. None of that was real. That was all fake. The whole thing was fake and deliberately done to get back at certain people who were around me at the time, who were deliberately breaking privacy laws and prying laws. So that was all fake, completely fake. And one of those persons I was doing that towards to get back, it was Giovanni as well. So if I'm someone like, say, I want to get a nice chocolate, well, I'm not going to go to a self-serve and get some cheap shit. I'm going to go to a chocolatier, like where I used to get my nan's chocolates from, which is where my nan used to get her chocolates from when she was a kid at the Strand Arcade. And I'm going to have, a beautiful chocolate and enjoy that chocolate. Enjoy the flavour, because I'm not doing this I don't need this chocolate. I don't need this. It's not an addiction. There's a different. And why is people like myself, why do we have to suffer? Because there's some people in the world that have issues. As far as I'm concerned, there's people in the world that have issues. Can't we just round them up and ship them off to an island? Oh, hang on, we tried that. That's called Australia. But seriously, I look at this and it's like, if you are somebody that's ever had drug and alcohol problems in your entire life, and you think that we're going to be like-minded and friends, well, Belinda Jeffries from La Boutique Hair Salon is going to learn that valuable lesson that, no, we're not friends. Okay, I saw you. Okay, she was my hairdresser only at first, and then disclosed information about herself, and I thought, well, here's a business acquaintance. So if I ever need a criminal in my back pocket, I know who to call. No, we're definitely not like-minded people. I don't have the same issues you have. You can build your little empire, so to speak, and I'm going to come along and crumble it down. Okay, so no. I'm sorry. If you've ever had cigarette smoking issues in your life where you're addicted to smoking for the, nicotine, we're not like-minded people, because I would never smoke because I want nicotine. If you are somebody that has had drug problems in your life, we are not like-minded. If you're somebody that has drinking problems over in your life, we're not like-minded. And if you turned around to me and say, but I don't do it now, we're not like-minded, because I don't care if you do it now, if you did it in the past or not. You are still that person. And I would never affiliate with you, ever. I would never date you. If you were gay, I would never go out with you. I'd never socialize with you. I would never be friends with you. I would have to do what I'm doing in this street, where I'm fake to your face and walk off and do what my grandparents used to go, bite your tongue when you get inside, close the front door and let it out. And I close that front door and I'm like, are you fucking shitting me? Why am I living on the same street with these people? So I do exactly what I was raised to be like. Just be polite, walk past, get home, close the front door. And that's what it is. It's like, I can't stand them. I look at them and go, what, are you fucking kidding me? Why are you in society? Why aren't you in an area that suits you, around people that are like you, that have drug and alcohol problems, or are reformed people with drug and alcohol problems? And as far as I'm concerned, you should be gathered together, shipped to an island, and, well, they tried to do that with Australia. But yeah, maybe it's a good idea for Tasmania. Let's ship all these people to Tasmania. Why are they in the rest of society, destroying society? Because let's face it, where's beautiful cigar lounges anymore? Where's beautiful, you know, aperitif bars? Where can you go get like a nice martini lounge and sit and relax? And oh, I want to try that tobacco. What is it made? Oh, it's made of rose and this and so forth. Oh, that. What can you pair that tobacco with? If we're having here maybe a Turkish martini with rose water, you know, and things like that, or something that's even going to contribute. Like, you know, come on, like this is ridiculous. What I mean, okay, log cabin piped tobacco. Log cabin piped tobacco pairs beautifully with a wine-based cognac, not a Scotch-based cognac, a wine-based cognac. The wine-based cognac is sweet enough where it will cut through this sort of. It's a log cabin. It's a beautiful pipe tobacco. I can't think of. I think it's so a oak barreled flavour in it. Log cabin, but it's got this sort of like really, it's sort of very masculine, but smooth. And then if you pair that with a beautiful wine-based cognac, you have this beautiful aroma. Now, people who like this atmosphere, this beautiful aroma and so forth, these are people who don't have drug and alcohol problems. These are people that, you know, would never have drug and alcohol problems. People who have drug and alcohol problems are people that have issues and they will go for the cheapest of anything because they need it. You know, it's, yeah. I mean, look, and I've been dragged into this. My mother's a little scammy. She has, oh God, she's disgusting. Oh, seriously, when people come up and go, oh, I've met Justin's mother, I'm like, what a vomit. She is disgusting. She's disgusting. Seriously. To have even gone with her second husband and then the boyfriend she had after, God, the boyfriend she had after that, this Dave guy, she is disgusting. There's nothing else to describe. She's disgusting. You know? It's like, where's the class? And where's the, you know, like, if you're going to have a drink, instead of having 3 drinks, have one and enjoy it. Get something that's actual quality. I have no time for people that have drug and alcohol issues in the world. I mean, during COVID, all these people that are like, oh, they were drinking and doing this. It's like, why? You know, I'm during COVID looking at, I want to get fresh produce and fruit and vegetables and steaks and build my immune. And I'm looking at fruit juices and all I could get was the bloody orange juice and even there was mandarin juice and so forth. But on it, there was bloody corn syrup in it. So I'm during for COVID. I'm buying massive big bags of fish from Stop and Shop in Connecticut. Big bags having grilled fish and salad. And the only thing, and that's why I'm like, why am I putting on weight? There's something else about what's making me put on so much weight because I'm having steamed fish and salad. It can't be that, and so I kept putting it down to it must be the fruit juices I was drinking because they're all full of corn syrup and the yogurt that I was using. Because it's not what I was eating. I was eating steamed fish a lot because there was so in Stop and Shop in Connecticut, in Norwich, Connecticut, in the frozen section, you could buy for about $16. You could buy this massive big of whiting, excuse me, whiting fish, I think it was, bag, massive, so or fillets, huge, and I'm like, oh, for $16, so I'm having fish all the time right through COVID, like trying to keep my vitamins up, and I'm putting on all this weight. I'm like, why am I putting on so much weight? And I could only put it down to the fact I was drinking so much fruit juices. It must be the fruit juices I was putting on weight, because that's pretty much what I was having during COVID. Beautiful salads, beautiful fish. Oh God, like it was for frozen fish. It was really nice. Anyway, I'll leave it there.